What's up, everyone? Finally gonna dive into this album of the year list video. Honestly, guys, I wasn't really sure what I was doing when I was recording these reaction videos. It was more of just something to do for fun. As awful as 2021 has been, a lot of downs, I'm gonna have to look on the bright side for a lot of things. One of those things is number 10, Rise Against Nowhere Generation. So the numbers, pretty typical Rise Against format. The lead riff is very much like the Suffer Witness, Appeal to Reason, and even more so like the most recent stuff from Wolves and the Black Market, which I wasn't really a big fan of. The main chorus I was kind of iffy on it at first, but honestly it has a lot of aggression. Going from there though, title track, that's actually the weakest track for me. It kind of felt more like a radio friendly type of Rise Against track from the past two albums. 1.3 million views. However, it does seem like they kind of dropped off in popularity, at least with this album cycle, I've noticed. But again, that's a lot of bands throughout the pandemic. Broken Dreams Inc. was another single. This one is probably the most punk driven track on the entire album. I really enjoyed that bridge part where Tim chants, "Broken Dreams. Broken Dreams Incorporated." So nice melody beat. Sudden Urge, very much like a Silverstein-esque intro. Love that harmonic riffing. Choruses on this album are just on fire. Monarch, another song that really nice palm muted tremolo picking. Zach, their drummer, he's beasting it throughout every single song. Middle of a Dream is where it's most noticeable. This sounds like heaven, literally. The riffs in this part, bam, 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 bam. Sooner or later, the lyrics really speak to you that, wow, like, you know, life's not for granted. It all has to end at some point. And it's also the only track on the album where Tim actually screams. He goes back to his revolutions per minute. The last track, Rules of Play, is my favorite track, like hands down. Right at the intro, that nice lead riff. This screams Long Forgotten Sons. Number 9. This one is going to be another pretty unexpected one for a lot of metalheads that watch this channel, and that is Tremonti's Marching in Time. On a Time Machine, I jammed that for quite a bit. It seems like one of those things where I enjoy Mark's vocal range, but for some reason, the whole entire package hasn't really resonated with me as a whole. Now, with Marching in Time, that same thing might happen later down the road next year or something, because this is still a relatively new album for me. I wasn't too crazy about the singles, but I gave it a run again. World Away, let's start with that one. This one screams Down with the Sickness, but the 2021 version of Down with the Sickness. That riff, it's so Southern Dust at the same time. Because Southern Dust likes to do those awkward sort of drop G sharp tuning. Now it's got like their own twist to it though. I don't think it's drop G sharp. I think they have a couple of string changes, so I really don't know what to tell you about that. I think I saw Mystic Guitars cover that, and he does a lot of Tremonti, Southern Dust, and bands of that nature, so you could probably check his channel right now to see. I just wish that Mark Tremonti could get some good backing vocalist screams or something that add on to it. You know, Southern Dust does this, Chevelle does this, Breaking Benjamin does this. A lot of alt-rock bands, alt-metal bands do this, so it is a little surprising that they don't really utilize that. Now and Forever, the second track on the album, also another single. They had a little music video for this, but it almost seemed like it was just a pandemic, like, lyric video type of thing, just to say it was a music video and a single. Yeah, this song got the job done. It wasn't one of my favorites, but I definitely enjoyed it at the time. It's definitely not something I'm going to keep playing over and over again, but it gets the job done where it doesn't bother me. Riffs again, really nice lead riff. If Not For You, another single. This one was kind of on the same boat as Now and Forever. It's got more of just like that Creed vibe to it that just seems like a more hooky song with a nice guitar solo. So no complaints about that. I remember that I think this is the one that Nick Nocturnal reacted to, and Mark was on the Twitch chat or something. Sure enough, there was like some sort of build up, and he thought it was gonna be a breakdown. I could tell on the look of his face, he was like let down by it secretly. So a lead riff of this, very punishing, very D standard Tremonti style, and also the hook, absolutely hands down the best hook on the album. Under the Sun also takes the cake for one of the best hooks. That's the next track, also D standard tuning. Next album, holy shit. I was just talking about how Rise Against should be torn with these guys. We're talking about Turnstiles galore on here, guys. So let me just tell you right now, if you are a punk, if you are a hardcore, or even if you're a metalcore dude, you gotta be putting this album on your list. I don't care what you have to say, but please don't tell me at the same time this is the album of the decade. Please do not overhype it to that point, because I've been seeing comments like that. A lot of Turnstile fans are open to hyping it so freaking much where it's just a little bit too much. Now, I do think that they are changing up the game here. Honestly, I think that bands need to like take note, like for real. Turnstile, they are going back to the early 2000s, not even early 2000s, I say like 90s or even like late 80s sound. So going to start off the album with Mystery, absolute banger of a song. This is probably their best song, my favorite song, the most hookiest song in the world. Just coming in swinging, coming in hot. This is the song that they played on Late Night with Seth Meyers the other night, actually. I saw that performance. It's really crazy because to me, like, I feel that this band has so much of a look to them, a nice, just the representation, the way they present themselves, and the way they perform, the way they rock their heads, and the way they move. Lead vocalist is just chilling like he's on shrooms or something. It's crazy. Holiday was another single. That's all I gotta say. Absolute flame. Endless, which just clocked in at 1 minute and 59 seconds long. This song was my absolute favorite. Yeah. That part is so good. It's, again, Beastie Boys vibe. The main riff, too. They're playing like D standard, I think. There's another single, Fly Again. The intro was so trippy, the piano intro. New Heart design, very much like The Cure, The Clash, The Cult, and The Police, all in one. Nice, insane 80s vibe. TLC, Turnstile Love Connection. Oh man. So this track, wow. Punch you right in the face. It's only 1 minute and 43 seconds long. Right to the point. No surprise. This one, going back to the whole 80s thing. Up at number 7, these guys were also playing ball pretty hard here. Spirit Box's Eternal Blue. So these guys and girl came out of nowhere this year for me. I discovered them after everybody was talking about Holy Roller, which I thought was a little bit overhyped, honestly. I thought it was a little bit more on the generic metalcore side of things, so I didn't understand like what the whole entire deal was. But you know what? As always, I figured to give everything a fair shot. Secret Garden, Tap and Lick, just very satisfying. Nice melodic energy from Courtney LaPlante. Circle with Me. This is Architect's Core at its finest. It's still good. It's still solid. I just thought that was a little bit safe, in all freaking honesty. And then Constance, big message to that song as it's about Courtney's grandmother and her passing, so very heartfelt song. It's not a song I play that much just because there's a lot of emotion to it, so for me, like when I'm in the mood for certain things, it has to be stuff like Sun Killer, right? The opening track. Insane sort of synthesizers going on, nice build up. Gets heavier and heavier and heavier. One of my favorite tracks on there. We Live in a Strange World. Oh man, that sort of dance along synthesizer beat, but it's like pop gent sort of thing. Chef's kiss right there. Like, I don't know why nobody likes that track, but that song did it for me. Halcyon, whatever, however you say that. That one's a real big banger. I thought that was the best aside from that track. Silk in the Strands, yeah, it's definitely got the edge to it that Holy Roller has, but it's definitely not one of my favorite tracks. I don't know, I just felt like it was heavy for the sake of being heavy. Yellow Jacket, a little bit too overhyped with Sam Carter of Architects, but it's a nice lead riff. I liked it, but the chorus was just a little too mundane. It was a little bit too for those that wish to exist. Just not for me. Hurt You, absolute banger. One of my favorite tracks on the album. It's got like that new middle edge. Breakdown, again, Chef's Kiss. Overall, I think that there was a couple of missteps. Nothing crazy, just a little overhyped. The Summit was one of the better tracks with the riffs. Mike's killing it. Anyways, next album, Angel or Alien by Born of Osiris. We're also going to the gent metalcore of things right now. These are the two albums on the list with that gent metalcore style. And my goodness, these guys came out swinging hard with lead single White Nile. My expectations were through the freaking roof after this song. No clean vocals in the song whatsoever. A lot of nice blast beats. The riffs, absolute killer. Lee's killing it, honestly. He's doing a really amazing job. Even after all that Jason Richardson hype that killed the band after he left, right? So that's why I haven't really been on board since then. Absolutely killer music video too, by the way. Angel or Alien, which is kind of just more of an upbeat, more of a Osiris track. You definitely could hear on Tomorrow We Die Alive, but I like the synthesizers from that track. Really cool stuff. Nice music video too, visualization. They've always been at the top with like the Egyptian sort of scale thing. Thrive of Your Presence has more of a mix between really nice heaviness, but also they're able to do that like sing yell thing during the chorus. I love, again, the synthesizers of that track. Oathbreaker, another heavy solid tune. Love Story, same deal. It's not a Taylor Swift's love story. Echo Breather, same deal. I mean, honestly, you get what you expect from this band, so that's why I don't really want to keep digging deep throughout this album. But yeah, again, favorites are going to be Cross, Faith, and For the Kill. The Truth and Denial and Thrive Your Presence, so those four tracks, and then obviously White Nile, which is going to be number one. I can't get enough of that track. Poster Child too, actually. Man, there's just so many good tracks. That's what I'm saying. You can't really decide between which are your favorites on this album. Number 5 is Trivium's In the Core of the Dragon. I don't have like terrible things to say about the album. It's just comparing this album to What the Dead Men Say, right, which I had at number 3 last year. I don't think this album is as good. It's still a really good album. That's why it's number 5. It's just crazy to me how the title track is the best song on the album. Damocles, that's how Matt says it. The way he sings, it's so different. Now, that's why this song took a little while for me to get into. It took me about 2 or 3 listens. The first time, it didn't really go into my ears when I did the initial reaction to it. The riffs are really good. I'm not going to talk too much about bass work, but there is moments on this album, like Shadow of the Abattoir, that absolutely my favorite track aside from the title track. This is another track that I'm actually playing a lot of. Bass work in this is like very much, yeah, obviously Trivium, but the lead riff, I don't know why, nobody's mentioned it. I hear Parkway Drive all over that. It's just got that nice pirate sort of metal sound. And I know it kind of sounds strange for me to say that connection between Parkway Drive and pirate metal because obviously there's no Ailstorm or anything. A Crisis of Revelation, another track where it goes all out. Also, Corey and Matt too, they do their typical soloing, and some nice thrash riff in here and there too as well. Feast of Fire is the other track where it's kind of standard Trivium. It wasn't a bad standard Trivium track though. His vocals kind of take away from the overall experience for me. From Dawn of Decadence, I thought the vocal processing was a little bit too much. It's like, I know they've kind of dabbled with that before. Phalanx, this song kind of dragged on for me. It was 7 minutes and 14 seconds long. I liked it, don't get me wrong, I liked it. I thought the build-ups were amazing. But yeah, I think the first 3 minutes could have been cut off and no way back, just through. Really aggressive. I actually like this one of my favorite ones. It's got like that new All That Remains approach to it. Number 4 on this album, the year list, Welcome to Horrorwood, The Silver Scream 2 by Ice Nine Kills, box, which features Brandon Soller and Ryan Kirby. Brandon from Atreyu, Ryan from Fit for a King. This track, it's kind of got the very similar riff to American Nightmare, but I think it's a little bit more memorable. I do like Ryan's additions to his deep growls. Brandon, he's bringing in a nice clean vocal chorus. It definitely feels like more of a Atreyu type of track. and more of like a modern trade, so that's why it's not really a song I keep playing. FLI, which is another feature featuring Buddy Nielsen of Senses Fail. So this is another track where I felt like the riffing was pretty damn solid, but overall the chorus was it's alright. Could have used a little more work. I felt like this was like a used sort of B-side track. Now I'm not going to go into like all of the details, by the way, guys, about what songs were from which movies and whatnot. Everybody's picked apart most of the stuff. Ex Mortis, I'm just going to be honest with you guys, this sounded like the Deer Hunter, and I'm not a fan of them, and it's just not my thing. Worst Vacation, absolute banger of a track. This was like a German like sort of spoof. Absolutely killer track, so intense. It's got like a Slipknot sort of main riff. Assault and Batteries, this track just has a lot of aggression. Aside from Funeral Derangements, definitely one of the best choruses on the album and of the year, honestly. Funeral Derangements, this track got some intense heaviness, nice, awesome music. Has probably the best breakdown on the album. Also, Assault and Batteries 2 is up there as well. Hip to Be Scared breakdown, though, holy shit, this one took me way off guard. With the Jacoby feature, holy shit. I thought the music video might be just like a standard sort of radio rock sound, but the song is everything. Take Your Pick with Corpse Grinder, yeah, that was the heavy. Songs like Rainy Day, so this was like the standard Ice Nine Kills track, right, for the Sirius XM crowd. Now this was, I gave it an 8 out of 10 in my initial reaction. It's got some nice riffs, it's got a nice breakdown, it's just kind of a little safe title track. Oh my god, that solo is insane, and it actually reminds me a lot of Escape the Fate. It's got that sort of edge to it where, okay, first of all, it's on drop C, so a lot of Escape the Fate, or at least back in their prime, they were doing drop C stuff. And also Ronnie Radke's vocals, I can hear that in the song a little bit at times. Farewell to Flesh, this one is a hit. This is probably one of my favorite tracks on the album as well. It's got that vibe. I feel like this is gonna be the next single from them. It's got so much power. It's gonna work perfectly in a live setting. So anyways, guys, favorite tracks from the album, that has got to be Funeral Derangements, Assault and Batteries, Welcome to Horrorwood. I guess you can throw in Hip to Be Scared, Take Your Pick, and then Worst Vacation, Farewell to Flesh. And yeah, this is a 14 track album, so I just listed half the album there. Alright guys, number 3. This is going to be a little bit of a surprise for all of you metalheads who watch my channel. Whitechapel's Kin. Yeah, this album blew me away, guys. And I'm not a big Tool fan. This album just slaps. It slaps hard. It's got a lot of variety to it, a lot of emotion as well, and it's well deserved. And I feel like this album, like, it's getting a lot of credit, but it's not getting a lot of mainstream credit like Ice Nine Kills and Trivium are getting, and that kind of saddens me because this should be the album where Whitechapel is able to rise up and get that sort of recognition. And I know they've had recognition, it's just within deathcore it's not really saying much. I want them to become that band where it's more than just freaking deathcore. That's the problem. When they hold themselves in that category, now they pigeonhole themselves. 3 singles. Lost Boy. Honestly, this song grew on me at first when I did my initial reaction. Didn't really know what to think. It's definitely got that Whitechapel formula, right? But the part where it turns into that Tool-esque vibe during the bridge, it changes things up quite a bit. Bill's vocals and his lyrics, overall message of it. Blood-Soaked Symphony, same deal, honestly. Like, this song's more of a heavy Boehner, Whitechapel formula, but really got the job done for me. Orphan, this is more of like the straightforward sort of track. I feel like this should be playing on radio, honestly. It's just clean vocals. It's got like that Five Finger Death Punch, 10 years sort of vibe throughout the entire song. I don't want to talk about Tool all the time, so I feel like this is Five Finger Death Punch in 10 years. Fist bumping sort of tune. I got that message, so it's not coming off as corny or anything. Great lyrics, great message, great riffs. Anti-Cure is kind of the same deal, but this one has got more of a, what I would call a Perfect Circle vibe. And, this is when it just sealed the deal. I've never heard a side of Phil like this before. And again, it's not a clean vocal driven. It's mainly acoustic guitar driven until they get to the guitar solo, and Phil belts out his freaking vocal register really high up. So my favorite one, I Will Find You. I love how like they got that Nashville sort of country vibe in a lot of these acoustic songs. History Silent, another same deal. They acoustic to heavy type of track. This album took me by surprise because I'm not much of a deathcore guy, and I did enjoy the self-titled album when it came out, but I haven't really played it much since then. So for them to just switch it up like this, wow, awesome, guys. Number 3, Whitechapel. Number 2, guys. Can you guess what it is? This is where it all comes down. I couldn't believe it because these guys were holding the number 1 spot all freaking year long, until somebody came along and took the number 1 spot. Era got beaten out by, we'll figure out who it is, but yeah, Era got number 2 out, unfortunately. So I'm on the fence, I'm sorry, but if you're watching this, yeah, Era, self-titled, amazing album. Honestly, there's no bad songs on this album. There is one track I'm not going to play, it's probably Divisionary, but it's definitely still a very melodic track. The song just hit 1 million views, finally on YouTube. Snowblood, where are they sitting at right now? They're sitting at 1.2 million views. So let's talk about Snowblood real quick, because this is the lead single, right, from the album. Absolutely love the intro. Video gamey-ish synthesizer going on. A little standard Era tune, but still gets the job done quite a bit. It's kind of similar to Veil of Maya's Outsider, where you expect what you expect from the band, but the breakdown is where the freaking pizza sauce is put in place, and that's where the shit happens. So Divisionary, like I said, pretty vocal driven track, although very technical too at the same time, with Jesse's lead riff tapping sort of thing. This track has insane melody later on the song. That's where Chef's Kiss comes through. JT, he ends up singing along with Jesse here. This is when Era is absolutely breaking the mold here. They're absolutely taking things to a whole new level. They're absolutely the band who should be direct support, and at the very freaking least, with Slipknot, these other big tours, they should be on these fucking bills. House of Glass, okay, so this is like the very Tool drop tune sort of version of that. Yeah, I love the way the bass sounds in this, the bass tone. It's definitely not my favorite track on the album, but again, a nice solid single, a nice riffage, nice overall execution and heaviness. But Shadow Autonomous. This has got to be one of my favorite tracks on this album and the entire year. Crazy visuals, crazy freaking melodies, heaviness. They just go to a whole new level in this track. Aosin inspired, by the way. Lead riff going into the song, got a nice harmonic build up. Do the 1-2 punch here with Electric Twilight and Lunar Halo. Both of these tracks screams like 80s sort of metal. It's so weird to me, but with the Era twist. And Electric Twilight, that freaking harmonic breakdown gets me every freaking time. It's so freaking good. Scorpion Hymn, just like Gungrave, absolute heavy bangers. These 2 tracks, while they're not my favorite ones because I don't gravitate more towards the genty sort of heaviness as much. Vanished Canvas, so you can't go wrong with that one. And then they got the new version with Cornelius Plant. Very melodically driven. Remnant, also another track where Jesse really shines. Memory of Fiction, though, this is the track that really got to me. Just like Remnant, it's got that nice polyphia sort of riffing going on. Jesse's motion in this track, it's got a lot of sort of memories in the track. You know, you listen to it and you're like, damn, man, I miss those days when everything was so simple. And I miss driving through New Hampshire. I miss some of the Asian crowd I would hang out with and Asian markets. And yeah, there's just some things I miss. And seafood, obviously, New England guy here. It really speaks to me, that sort of song. Even if the lyrics might not be about that, I'm just saying when I listen to the song, I get that vibe. And also, I know I didn't really talk about the lyrics as much on this album. just because I'm so like ingrained into like everything else. But yeah, Jesse's obviously an amazing lyricist. Believe me, guys, I could talk about this album all freaking day. It's so damn good. But we have to get to the number one at some point, guys. And I couldn't believe it. Like, after 5 freaking years, Every Time I Freaking Die is back. And they're back with a new record here. I couldn't believe it. Radical is an absolute fantastic, full of 16 songs now. AWOL, which was a track I was trying to learn on guitar. I'm still trying to learn it. I just haven't had much time. I riffed it out at the time and just haven't, perfected it. So this is going back to the drop D tuning, right? So those other two, well, Desperate Pleasures within drop C, Colossal right back in the drop D, typical tuning. AWOL, Planet Shit is actually my least favorite track. And it's got the Every Time I Die formula, but the lyrics just did not do enough for me. Whose fucking side are you on? It's not on the note so much where it's like straight from the top. Thin with Feathers, real features Andy from Manchester Orchestra. Very, very interesting tune, bro. This is like really dark, but very much just melodic at the same time. Awesome tune though. This is one of my favorites from the album, Postmortem, even though it's got an awkward sort of chorus. That's the thing about this song. It's got that typical sort of like off kilter sort of Keith, like, and it's cool. It's just not a song I play as much either. But these are the tracks that I don't play as much, guys. Now everything else, remember, this is a 16-track album. Dark Distance opens up with a fucking punishing riff. This is their version of drop A, right? They just tune down the first string down to A, and then everything else is like the drop D. That bass tone sounds like, just before the breakdown in the song, it's got such a Kurt Ballou sort of Converge vibe to it. And they went with Will Putney on this album, not Kurt Ballou. I don't know what's been going on with Kurt, if he's been producing, but on much metal music, honestly. But yeah, Spare, only the ones I love. So it's like the opposite of Underwater Bimbos from Outer Space. I want to be dead with my friends. I want to be dead with my friends. Bam, 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 bam. That song's so amazing. That's my favorite. All This and More, which features Josh Scourgeon, 68. I should say The Chariot more because like that's the band he's really known for. And then obviously he was on the first Norma Jean album. This was a really fun tune, guys, and especially during that breakdown moment. It's so cool. Sly, I'm getting a lot of Awful Lot vibes. The whole entire chord progression, like it's a lot of just like general power chords going on. Distress Rehearsal. When it gets to that breakdown, oh man, that's business right there. Dissonance riffing there. Sex, Sex, Sex. I think this is the best song on the album, though. Sex, Sex, Sex. It's just got some of the best riffs on this album. It's very chaotic. We Go Together. This is one of the best highlights on the album. The closing track. It's like Between the Bird and Me core. It's so interesting. So much going on there. Time signature changes, riffing. And I think they might have tuned a drop C on that one. I have to double check on that one. This is my album of the year though, guys. Let me know in the comments section down below. I could talk about this album all day. I know it might not seem that way, but dude, like, let's still try to let that shit sink in, guys. It's a lot to take in. This is like the special thing about Every Time I Die, guys. You have to give it time for this type of band, and any type of band that makes great music. You have to like give it time to say, okay, well, oh shit, I'm finding new things. I'm finding more Easter eggs in this song, or it's one of those things. And if it's a band like, I'm sorry to say, Spirit Box, right? That type of album, Eternal Blue, is more or less like, okay, you hear the first listen, maybe the second listen, maybe the third listen, and okay, I can't really hear anything else now. It's like I've already like heard the songs. With this album, with especially Trivium's In the Core of the Dragon, especially with Era's self-titled record, those 3 albums, and Whitechapel's Kin, those are all albums you have to take in very drastically. Even more so like Born of Osiris's album. Like, that's a very riff-driven album. You have to make sure to listen to it a few times. Ice Nine Kills, though, definitely on the same page as like Spirit Box. It's very melodically driven a lot of times. Let me know what you guys thought about my album of the year list. I know this is a lot of talking. This is my first time doing this, so it sucks that I'm not really inclined to throw in like song clips. I know I could do that because I'm a reaction channel, but I figured it would just take away too much time. So hopefully you enjoyed my ramblings of this video, and that's my top 10. Let me know in the comment section down below what your top 10 was. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed me talking. I'd be surprised if you did, but hey, if you stuck around this long, please, props to you. See you in the next video.